Hey my love bugs, Sendall here coming at you with another video, and as you can see, this video is a lot different. This is probably the only video on my channel anything like this. There are a lot of negatives about social media, but I think one amazing thing about social media is you have the ability to talk to so many different people about so many different types of things, and those things being things that enable you or things that cripple you, and I don't know, things that keep you bound, if that makes any sense. And so today I just want to share my story with you guys. A lot of times people will share their stories, and when they say they want to share their stories, they want to tell you like, oh, this is when I got my cosmetology lessons, and this is when I get so many questions and so many comments from you guys, and it's so amazing. Like, oh my god, I've just like never imagined I would get this many women like, I don't know, feeling this way about me or being inspired by me, because I'm just living out loud, because it helps me to push through better. How did I move to Vegas? How did I end up in Las Vegas? So I was 16 years old. My grandmother passed away, and my father's mother and they were very close, very close. And I don't want to say it was all of a sudden, because she was older, but it was kind of like shocking for my father. It was a lot for him to deal with, so we didn't do nothing. My parents decided that they wanted to move to Vegas. Like, literally, my grandmother passed away, I want to say it was before my birthday. My birthday's in July, and so she passed before my birthday, and then we were in Vegas come September. So it was very all of a sudden to the 11th grade. So it was that summer before my 11th grade year. And being from Detroit, Michigan, moving from the Midwest to the West Coast, you just never realize how much of a difference it is culturally. And it was like shocking for me. Mind you, I had a boyfriend at the time, and like high school sweetheart type deal. And one thing I will say, because I have a daughter, I will never tell my daughter that her feelings are not real when she's a child, because those feelings that I had were very real. So anyway, he kind of had sex with every girl in Detroit, Michigan. Like every girl that lived in Detroit, Michigan, he had sex with, and a lot of them were my friends. I had a moment where when I first moved to Vegas, I hated it. I hated it here because it's so different. Like, when I'm from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised, so like I'm used to like J's and Forces and white tees and button ups and I don't know, Dickies, and out here they had Vans and skinny jeans.
I'm running with my bands on, slip them on, cuffing my pants, so they don't get torn in the back. It's a punk rock shoe with the logo in the back.
I didn't know men could wear skinny jeans. Where do that stuff go? It was really, and Vans always have looked like house shoes, like the type of house shoes my uncles wear at home, and they had those on in the club. They made songs about them. So anywho, that was really hard for me as I was out here. So the credits are different going from Detroit to Las Vegas, believe it or not. I ended up graduating early from high school early. So I decided that I wanted to move back to Detroit, because when I moved out here, I was, like I said, in a relationship. So that was in the midst of all of that. So I moved back to Detroit, and I remember my father telling me like, baby, just don't go. It's not going to be anything like what you think it is. And when I moved back to Detroit, I moved in with my sister. Now, I probably got a little bit ahead of myself. I should have started here. I want to say this. Me making this video is not to offend anybody. I'm not putting anybody on blast. I'm not trying to stir up drama. I'm I don't know, try to make anybody mad at my family because we don't even talk, so why would I do that? If my truth offends anyone, I am sorry if you're included in my truth, but this is what it is. So anywho, a little background about my family, maybe what I can give you. I am the product of a situation that happens a lot. I am the child from my father's second marriage, which was obviously my mother's, his second marriage. Obviously he was only married twice. My father, two girls, and they are my sisters and they're twins. And I want to say when I was born, my sisters were about, I know they were in double digits. I know that for a fact. And my mother had my brother when she was 16. And yeah, I am my parents' only child together, okay? So when my mother and my father met a couple of years after my brother was born, and at this point, my father and his ex-wife had been divorced for years. I remember when I turned 16, I just told my father that I wanted to know. I just wanted to know. I wanted to be able to be like, okay, like, my mama played snatchies. My mama took our daddy from your mama, okay? But, or like, no, that's not what happened. This is what happened, right? So I asked my father, and when I asked my father was the type of person, like, he's gonna let you believe whatever you want to believe, and he's not gonna be defending himself against a lie. But if you ask him, he will give you the answer that you want, right? So I asked him. My daddy set me down, baby. He pulled out all types of receipts, okay? Like, I saw divorce, I saw marriage certificates, divorce papers, everything. So, and then what my mother was doing at that time, where she was at, like, it wasn't possible for my mother to have been the reason why my father and his ex-wife were no longer together. It wasn't possible, because my mother was not only with her father, because my mother was not only in a relationship with my brother's father or involved with my brother's father, but my father would have been a pedophile if my father would have been a pedophile if he would have been the reason that if my father would have been a pedophile if my mother was the reason that him and his ex-wife were not together, because my father and my mother was 20 and my father was in his 30s when they met, because they had a pretty big age difference. So yeah, anywho, like I said, they had full-fledged receipts. There are receipts everywhere. Life is receipts, okay? Like, it's over settled with, mind you, that's when I was 16. And I was the girl, I always was misplaced, because keep in mind, my brother, we're 10 years apart. And I didn't come along until after my parents were together for about 4 years altogether. So I was raised as an only child. My brother left and went away to college whenever I was 9. Yeah, so he never, after he left and went to college, he like never came back, which, I mean, whatever. And so, anywho, like I said, I was there by myself. And of course, at first you think like your brother's gonna come back and stuff, but you know, he didn't, and he was living his life, which is fine. Like, you know, that's what boys do. So anywho, Detroit is, I mean, it's not segregated, it's split up, but my mother was from the west side. Well, my mother's still living. My mother is from the west side, my father was from the east side. And I was raised on the west side of Detroit. So I was closer to my mother's side of the family. And when I say close, I mean like 24/7. Like, we were together 24/7. But as I began to get older, things started to change a little bit. I started to develop, and I remember I started my cycle 5th grade, and I remember waking up one day and having boobs. And I remember waking up the next day and having like butt, and I'm like, where is this ass coming from? I wasn't saying ass then, and I'm like, where is this ass coming from? I'm like drinking this green tea because it's calming, and I'm getting so nervous as I'm telling you guys this story. So the older I got, like I said, the more my body would begin to develop, and my family would always say things like, oh, she's fast. Well, you're probably gonna be fast. Oh, you're gonna be fast. Or she's probably fast. Or even like in high school or just in school period. I remember me and my mom were talking about the other day, like I went to ballet class, and I went to ballet, and the teacher, I guess, had made a comment like, oh, well, like her body is just so like curvy. Like, and I wasn't an overweight kid. Not that there's anything wrong with being an overweight kid. I was not an overweight kid. I'm gonna insert some pictures here. I wasn't an overweight kid. I guess I was just curvy. I don't know. So anyway, like I said, older I got, the worse it got. And mind you, I didn't have sisters. We tried a couple of times. I remember as a child, maybe once or twice. I remember as a child, maybe like, I don't even think I can use all of my fingers on this hand how many times me and my sisters went somewhere together. I can remember one time we went to the mall. She bought me a CD, a Beyonce CD. They're twins. I can't say my older sister. They're both the same age. Yeah, they both, one of them bought me a CD, the other one, I mean like maybe food, I don't know. And I really, at one point in my life, I desperately wanted to have a relationship with them, like desperately. And my father's brother, he has my father's brother's youngest daughter, Stephanie, is everything to me. Like, she's one of 6, and sometimes it's so hard. It was so hard, like going over there, because as amazing as they were and as much fun as they had, oh my god, it was still so hard to see that and then go back home. Not because I feel like if I was an only child, just normally it wouldn't have bothered me as much, but because I wasn't really an only child, like I had an older brother, and then 2 sisters that lived in the same state that I felt really wanted nothing to do with me. Granted, I'm sure it was because of, whatever, but I wasn't here. I had nothing to do with that. But anyway, so mind you, in the midst of that with my sisters, I still have my family too. And my family, my mother's side of the family, remember I'm fast, and I remember one of my aunties made a comment, like I was probably gonna be the first one pregnant. And once again, I never got caught like thinking boys in the house. My aunties never saw me like cuddled up with boys when I was in high school. I wasn't that girl. Like I'm not the girl that like 10 or 11 guys can sit around, or that like a group of boys can sit around and say that they've been with me. I'm not that girl. And when my aunts were talking about me like that, I wasn't even having sex yet. So anywho, that's the complex that I grew up with, you guys. So anywho, so then go to Tallahassee, because I'm just like running from stuff, like just running from just like heartbreak. It was like heartbreaking. Your first heartbreak literally feels like your heart's breaking, right? So anywho, go to Florida, and I was on this phase. I was like, I don't care about relationships. I'm just gonna have fun. But before I went to Florida, because my father was so happy that I had came back, and I was like, no, daddy, I don't want to do this. I was like, I want to major in psychology like you, right? I want to work in mental health like you. I didn't mean that. I just just didn't want to be in Vegas. So anyway, I go out to Tallahassee. Once again, if you guys want to hear my story about living in Tallahassee, Florida, then you let me know, and that'll be a whole nother story time, because that's some good stuff, like some good stuff. But went out to Tallahassee. It was exactly what my father said. It was nothing like I thought it would be. It's a really good story though, y'all. That's gonna be our next story time. That's gonna be our next story time, because it's a really good story. But it's exactly what my dad said. It wasn't anything like I thought it was gonna be. And so I was like, okay, I'm done running. Like I'm done running from Vegas, because obviously Las Vegas, Nevada is where I'm supposed to be. So I called my father. He asked me how I was doing in school. I told him what my grades were like, and he was like, oh, I'm so proud of you, but you sound so unhappy. And I was like, I am. And he was like, well, what's wrong? And I told him, I was like, I just can't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. Like I just can't see myself doing this. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I told him that I wanted to be a cosmetologist. And he was like, well, why didn't you say that? And people had told me that hairstylists only make like $20,000 a year, and you know that I couldn't be successful as a hairstylist. And I'm like, $20,000? What's that, girl? Girl, that's Starbucks. But I really have to be making these all the time, because I wouldn't have the money to go buy no real green tea latte from Starbucks. $20,000 each. Girl, please. And he put me on the phone with this lady that he knew, and we were like talking about it and stuff. And I said, well, okay. And my dad, he that day my father bought me a plane ticket, and I came back to Vegas. 2 days after that, my parents enrolled me in cosmetology school, and that's been it. I went to cosmetology school. While I was in cosmetology school, I met my husband. I was young. It was like, I was at this phase of my life. I had truly gotten over my ex. I was like completely over that. And I was really at this phase. I was really at this place in my life where I just wanted to focus on me. Even though I was young, I was young. But I need everybody to keep in mind that I have been the only one in the house, right? So my parents were they're my everything. Like we used to do everything together, like everything. Like I would go to the movies with them. We would sit around and watch movies together. I slept in the bed with my parents. I slept in the bed with my parents for a really long time. Like eating, like everything I did with my parents. And because I was like the only child. Like I've been the only one in the house since I was 9. So they had to do stuff with me, because who's like gonna talk to a tree? But when my husband came along, he literally like fell out of the sky. Like literally fell out of the sky. And we had DMs then, we had Facebook. And I remember he like just wrote me a message, and I used to have a whole bunch of like dudes write me messages, but it was just the way he was just different. I don't know how to explain it. He was just different, really different. And I have our relationship tag and how we met and all of that. I'll leave the link to that video in the description box. But yeah, so I met my husband, graduated cosmetology school, and then my gift to myself for cosmetology school, because even though I had graduated from cosmetology school, I still hated Vegas. I hated it. So I went to Detroit after I graduated from cosmetology school. I remember my cousin Stephanie, I told y'all about. She like freaking surprises me. And like throws me like a little surprise happy graduation party. But it was just her and her sister and her mom. So my cousins, my other cousins, and my auntie, and then 2 of her friends who were actually in my wedding. And my sisters didn't come. They were actually having a passion party. And they texted my cousin and told my cousin that, you know, they weren't coming, but that she could bring me if she wanted to. You know, it was great. And so it was amazing, because my husband and Stephanie, they like worked together. My husband, boyfriend at the time, they like worked together like to surprise me. We went to Olive Garden. That's before money was like, I mean, my money ain't super duper long right now, but it was before it's like it is now. So girl, Olive Garden was like, girl, yes, girl, Olive Garden and like Red Lobster, girl, yes. So anyway, so we were there, and yeah, like I came back here. That just gave me like the biggest like boost ever that I needed. And then at that time I was like, oh my god, yes. Like, so I go to cosmetology. I graduated from cosmetology school. I didn't have a huge clientele after I graduated cosmetology school, but it was enough. And I went to, at the time, the church I was going to had a the church didn't have a hair salon, but there was somebody that went to the church that owned the hair salon, and they got the permission from the pastor to name the church after the salon after the church. Who does? Anyway, so when I was there, everything was cool for a minute, but then I remember they had a bunch of commission stylists, and a bunch of the commission stylists, they kept quitting. Everybody kept quitting. I was booth rent. I've always been booth rent. In cosmetology school, all they would do was come around and tell us how we shouldn't do commission. How we should do booth rent because booth rent is suicide and the best thing to do is commission and da da da. Of course, it's corporate. They're gonna tell you that. And I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. It never made sense to me to work my ass off and then give you 40% and you ain't gave me nothing but shampoo. Down in the system. Anyway, so I went ahead and I worked there for a minute, and then I remember this one day, I guess this one girl, she came in and they sold hair too. So some girl came in there to sell hair because they used to have like a little radio spot or whatever. It was nice hair, and she came in to get some hair, and when she came in, I was with my client, and I guess she like, I don't know, I guess she was like paying attention or whatever, and it just so happened later on that day, no, an hour later, when I got done, me and my client went across the street because she needed change, and she was cool. It was the beginning of my career, girl. Most of my clients was my friends. And when we got across the street, the girl who was in there saw her hair and was like, oh my god, like that looks so bomb, can you put the hair in, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, cool. So whenever she sat in my chair, I'm like doing her hair, and the receptionist comes up to her and was like, here's a client record book. When Stan does clients in this salon that buy hair, she's a commission stylist, so don't give this card to her, give it to me. As I'm doing my client's hair, I said, oh, she got me smooth, messed up, and twisted. Remember what I said about the Midwest and the West Coast? That was what West Coast stuff. Midwest people don't play that. And then a girl that was sitting in my chair, she was from Chicago, so she already ate. So I handled that, and after that, and mind you, it was so many other things. It was a hair salon being ran by two men that knew nothing about the hair industry, and then one of the guys, his girlfriend, who isn't his girlfriend anymore, by the way, was the one who was managing it, and then he was trying to talk to the girl, so then she would get mad, and it was just some shit, okay? So I decided that I was going to go ahead and step out on faith and get my own studio, okay? Studio salons are not cheap. If you are a hairstylist, if you are in the hair industry, you know that. But if you are not in the hair industry, I don't think you guys have any idea what hairstylists have to go through. So because the hair industry is so lucrative, we have vultures, like vultures, okay? Booth rent for a good area, for a decent area, like where the crime rate is low to like very, very, very minimum, booth rent starts around $200 a week. Hairstylists do not pay monthly, and I'm not saying this negative to anybody else. The only hair salons that I have ever heard of that pay monthly aren't really like top of the line hair salons, or like one of the people that you gonna see on Instagram that got a whole bunch of followers that you think is lit, like the people that y'all idolize. No, okay. Mind you, I was fresh out of cosmetology school, and the place that I was at, my booth rent was $150 a week. Okay, my booth rent over there was $150 a week. So it was $280 at studio salons, but I was like, no, I can do it. And remember when I said we moved out here, the reason we moved here is because my father's sister was here in Nevada, and so he came out here to kind of clear his head, and they fell in love with Vegas. And my auntie has a daughter. It's not her oldest daughter, but anyway, my parents, like I said, it was abrupt when we moved. It was like all of a sudden when we moved. So whenever we got here, my parents had to sell the house that we had back there. You can't sell a house they weren't able to sell ours back short, even though it was a really, really nice house. And so my father stayed back while they sold the house, and then me and my mom came out here. And with my mom's job, my mom at the time, she was an accountant. She's still an accountant now, but she was practicing it heavy when we were in Detroit, which had an excellent job downtown Detroit. And so they were so sad when she left, but she had been working there for so long. My mom had like a lot of money when we came out here. And so anyway, my mom had paid our rent up for like 8 months, but the apartments, they were brand new. Like, we were going to be the first people to ever live in that apartment, and they were in the process of building it, because Vegas has so much new development even now, and this was 10 years ago. And so anyway, me and my mom, we came out here, but our place wasn't going to be ready for the second week that we were here, until the second week that we were here. So we stayed with my cousin, which is my father's sister's daughter. So we stayed with her, and it was temporary. She moved her daughter's things out of her room. And when she moved her daughter's things out of her room, me and my mother slept in there. And so the way things were, like, they were kind of, I feel like maybe the family thought that we didn't move because of what we said we moved for. I guess because me and my mom were out there, my dad was still back there. I think they thought that my parents were trying to hide the fact that they weren't gonna be together anymore or something like that. So she started telling my mom things that apparently his ex-wife had said, and different things that the family had said as it pertains to them being together and stuff like that. It was just stirring up so much confusion. And I remember me and my mom, we used to just get in the car and just drive, you know. So anyway, father moves out here, and when my father gets here, I remember my cousin calling my father, and my father called my mother, and I could hear them having a really intense conversation. I could hear my mom saying, "Okay, baby, okay." So my mom came in there and she's like, "Baby, don't get mad because we know you." But that cousin I was telling y'all about, she had told my family that I told her daughter that I always have sex at my parents' house when my dad's in the room. If anyone knew my father was in the military, and I mean, he didn't make a career out of it, but my father only slept like a couple hours a night. Like, I couldn't even go to the bathroom without my dad be like, who is that? What is that? Like, sneaking someone in the house and my father, okay. But anyway, that's what she told the family, everybody. So that's what they believed about me. Because remember, you guys, I'm supposed to be a tramp and, you know, all this stuff. So anyway, my mother handled that. It came out because, like I said, she told everybody that I used to sneak my boyfriend, the one that I was with at the time when I moved out here, I used to sneak him up in my room. Mind you, we had a colonial style house, so my bedroom was directly next to my parents' bedroom, so don't see how I could did that, but okay. And so that's what she told everybody. So then that was the news story that my family had as it pertained to me and sex and being promiscuous, even though at this point I wasn't even doing anything yet. So anyway, fast forward back. So get my cosmetology license at Studio Salons. I'm there at Studio Salons. You guys, like, it is such a hustle. Like, it's like non-stop. Like $280 a week. I remember I used to go to work and I used to have like 8 or 9 people on my books, and then by the end of the day, like, I'll have like 8 or 9 people on my books, and this one day stands out vividly. Keep in mind, this shit used to happen all the time, okay? I remember like this one day in particular, I had 6 clients on my books, and 6 was a huge number for me. Huge, right? So my first client came, and then my second client stood me up. This is before deposits, online booking, all of that stuff. My next client stood me up, and then, mind you, her appointment was a weave. I was not as fast with weaves then as I am now, so it was going to take me about 3 hours, and she stood me up, so I sat there for 3 hours. And then my next client stood me up, and that client, that appointment was supposed to be like 2 hours, so then I sat there for another 2 hours. So now I've been here for like 5 hours, and I've only made like $30. So So then after that, my next client came, and that made me feel better, lifted my spirits. And then after I did her hair, I had one more client that stood me up. One more, so that's more than 6. And then the very last one, she came and she got a full sew-in. At the time, we were not doing lace closures. It was like the handmade closures. And then I had like colored the bundles black. And then when I get done, when it was time for her to pay me, she hands me a check and asks me if I could wait to cash it on next Wednesday. It was Wednesday. So I had been at work all day. Mind you, at this point, it was like 11:30 at night. And the first client that I had was at 6 in the morning. Because I used to hustle. Like, I used to work until I couldn't work no more. And that's before I had kids and before I got married, all that stuff. So anyway, that was like a regular occurrence. And when I say a regular occurrence, y'all, I don't mean like the first 2 days of my career. I don't mean the first week, the first month. No, I mean like the first 3-4 years. Yeah. Like, none of my family supported me. Nobody came around. When I got married, my father's brothers and sisters were there. My sisters didn't come to the wedding. Everybody was basically saying that the only reason that I was getting married is because I was pregnant, and none of my family was at my wedding. My brother wasn't at my wedding. My sisters weren't at my wedding, and it's fine. Please do not think that I'm tripping, y'all. Like, when I tell you I am so gravy, I'm just telling you my truth, my story. Like, we're made of sugar and spice. Like, this is the spice. Y'all know about the sugar, girl. You know about sugar, girl. But I'm okay, girl. So anyway, like I said, none of them were at my wedding. It was just fine. None of them thought me and Tasha get married. They literally said that I was pregnant until I had my daughter. And me and my husband got married December 4th of 2010, and we had my daughter December 30th of 2011. So as soon as I jumped the broom, I was pregnant. So yeah, anyway, so in the midst of that, so like I said, I jumped the broom, blah blah blah. So then we made some friends, and it was our first married couple friendship, and that was horrible. Like, for a minute everything was good, but whenever we started being friends with this one person in particular, they were our first set of married friends. So you know how you'll have like a group of people, you'll have a couple, and it'll be like, okay, my husband and the dude will be cool, but me and the wife will be like, oh, this is forced, and then vice versa. They were the first couple that everything was great, and at first everything was fine because when we met, I was pregnant with my daughter. So everything that I am today, everything that I aspire to be, I've always wanted. I didn't just wake up one day and want to do this. I've always wanted to do this, nothing else. But when she met me, I was pregnant. I was a wife for the first time. I didn't know whether or not, I was like, maybe I should redirect things. Maybe I should be like a stay-at-home mom. I don't know. That lasted for like 5 minutes because it was really boring. Anywho, so right after I had my daughter, I had my son. Like, my kids are back to back, my bad. I had my son. So my children were back to back. So for 2 years, all she saw was mommy Cynthia. She never saw Sendal. Sendal wasn't created then. So anywho, I had my son, and mind you, whenever I got married, it's not that things had to stop, but being a hairstylist is something that takes everything, and I didn't have everything. I didn't want to give everything at that point. At that time, I wanted to enjoy being a wife. For the first time, I wanted to enjoy being married young. I wanted to enjoy being a mom. Like, for the first time, I wanted to enjoy like having little babies and breastfeed. I didn't want to do this part yet. Okay. So anywho, so I got back in the swing of things. In the midst of me getting back into the swing of things, the girl that I was friends with when I was in my mommy stage couldn't handle the fact that I wasn't indefinitely in that stage. I'm not knocking stay-at-home moms. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a stay-at-home mom. It's just not for me. I go insane. My babies, they wake up, they fart, they talk in their language, and they poop, and they eat, and they look on your boobs, and then they speak in your language, and then they're all cute, and then they go to sleep, and then they fart while they sleep, and sometimes it's poop, and they wake up and they do it all over again. Okay, like I can only clean up the house so many times. I can only organize my closet by color so many times. Okay, I was bored. Shit. So anyway, mind you, we met this couple in church. Yeah. Anyhow, so we as we're there, I had a group of female friends and that I dance with at the church because I do modern and ballet.
I promise you, I'm just getting into it. It's just getting good. It's just getting deep. I am about to get down to the nitty-gritty and let you guys know everything that brought me to the place that I am standing at right now. So make sure you head over there and view part 2. Go ahead, girl.